patient crew is here with us tonight, and it couldn't be more appropriate because one of their alumni is our guest storyteller. So we have Kelly joining us. I did coffee with her earlier this week, and like 5 times I had to stop us and be like, if we said this, we're gonna help a lot of people. So I'm hoping we can even get a shadow of that. So welcome to Free Recovery Community. It's a community of addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. This is also our first night in this space. So big shout out to the volunteers who came last week and painted and I'm not going to say anything else because Ed is the thorough person on code violations, and so I'm afraid if I say something, Ed'll be like, "Did you get a permit for that?" Welcome everybody. We're so happy you're here. Yeah.
Going off that welcome, there's one thing at Free we don't do, and that is shame. That's usually the next slide. Yeah, usually. But in the new space, we do have it on the back wall as well. So on the count of 3, if we can all say we don't do shame. All right, ready? One, two, three. We don't do shame. Perfect. Thanks, Andrea.
Just a couple quick before we get started, figuring out some of the stuff. So if you're here for the first time, we'd love it to get a chance to connect with you a little bit deeper. We'll also give you a coffee mug, so you'll just see Peter afterwards. He's right over there. He'll get you a coffee mug. If you're joining us online, you could just shoot a message to the Free Recovery Community Chicago Facebook page or the chat through the Facebook page, and we'd be happy to connect with you that way. You walk away with a coffee mug, and Peter said if you're real nice, he'll even find a T-shirt in your size somewhere. So, like this or a gray. Yeah, it's a community, so connecting deeper, better people. Better or deeper, either works, is a core of building community.
And I believe next we have follow social. So we are on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. So make sure you follow us where you can see everything Seth posts throughout the week. It's fantastic. So shameless plug there. Make sure you follow us on all our socials.
Service keeps you sober thing is so real. So come and help set up, be a part of. Through the rest of the month, it's the twice a month, but hopefully in February, because we are in this fabulous new space, the setup requirements are actually lower. We're not completely unpacking another community, loading in, and then resetting up for them. So we'll be meeting just once a month. You'll have your crew. You come in early, you set up, you get to know people at a much deeper level. So here at Free, there's some more. There you go.
We have our community welcome packs. So just as a reminder, at the beginning of every service, we do have an area where you can drop brand name toiletries. These go to sober living, so that way they have something really nice to have when they first get sober. So make sure, again, we want to make them help feel at home. Collecting the name brand toiletries. So I know I brought in like some toothbrush, some toothpaste, some stuff like that. And then, like I said, this can come in anytime prior to free recovery.
Yeah. No one wants those. What are they? Bob Barker toiletries? Laugh from everyone who's been to prison. Cool. So one thing we do every celebrations could be anything, just a quick one-liner about things that are going good. Maybe you just secured housing and you got past the GED sobriety exam, a sobriety time that you didn't think you'd get to, which if you're like me could be 48 hours, right? And so now we're gonna have Matt. We don't really need microphones for this room, right? I'm loud, a lot of loud people, but we do have the microphones so that people online can hear us. And I will say, now that we're online, we're not 12-step. We're not a 12-step program. So the anonymity thing is their program guidelines. It's not really ours. If you don't want to be in pictures, just let me or Christian, who will be taking pictures, know. We'll be happy to delete them. But what you do share here will be shared online. So just so you know that. So the internet just heard Chopa say all shit. Also, Matt, too, featuring Claire. Okay, so hey, Matt, he'll pass around the microphone. Just raise your hand, and we'd love to hear. Sprite's great, so let's hear about the good things that are going on.
Hi, my name is Ash, and I'm an addict. Here. So I got accepted to be a guest chef for the Silver Fork cohort program at the center. Basically, I get to go in and help the students kind of with their family meals at the end of the day, and then towards the end of their program, I get to help with a pop-up brunch, a donor dinner, and then do like some mock interview stuff. So it feels kind of good to be able to put my very extensive knowledge of an industry that I've been in for so many years and kind of give back to the community in some special way. So, yeah.
I just want to celebrate and acknowledge just how well one of my jobs are going. You know, I'm about to hit 4 months soon, and I got it back together. And things that used to stress me out couldn't be less stressful now. You know, there's no stress in my life, and also that I benched a personal record recently. I have to bench my body weight for yeah. I have to bench my body weight for a training test for the Chicago Police Department, and I'm getting closer every day. And I also weigh more than I ever have, which is a far cry from when I was a tweaker. So, well, I still am. Yes, you know.
So I'm Joe, and my celebration, I didn't know that LSSI was on the screen, but I take a meeting there like every 2 weeks on Tuesday night. So I thought I'd say hi to the inpatient crew, and I'll see you this Tuesday in the men's unit.
Woo! This Tuesday, not next Tuesday.
That's right.
Hello, my name's Eric, and last Sunday I hit 2 months sober. So that's I've never hit 2 months, so that was fun, I guess. And today I have 67 days.
Woo!
I'm Tom. On the 1st, I celebrated 7 years of sobriety.
Free pizza. Mizzou. M-I-Z, Tom.
I celebrated 4 months of sobriety. That was the first time I've ever gone 4 months sober.
Woo! Yeah.
My name is Matt. I just hit 8 months sober, so.
I'm Jake. I have a year of sobriety day after tomorrow.
Ooh.
Hi, I'm Kelly. I'm celebrating that I brought this new year in clean and sober, and that my plans are to do a career change, and I'm looking forward to future endeavors.
I think we deserve a celebration for the new space, right? And I also think we need another celebration for the United Methodist Church that gave us the money to do streaming into sober livings, because that's a good bridge for people to grow.
Hi, my name's Andy. This is my first time being a part of like this program and everything. And I'm 10 months sober. So.
Got about 10 seconds. So anyone else, any last minute things? Well, we all have this moment for being sober and happy and together. Um, I, I, I know sometimes it feels funny when you've like been out and like relapsed to come back, and it feels like you don't want to celebrate that 24 hours, that 36 hours, that whatever. And I was talking to a friend before we got here today, and I was like, uh, we don't get to decide when we're done with drugs. Sometimes it's the drugs that decide, drugs or alcohol or family addiction or spiritual distance, right? That decides that it's done with us, right? So the fact that we came back, even if you're drunk, but you're in this room, right? Like that's a blessing. That's something to celebrate because you just got to walk to the nearest train station to see that not everyone has this blessing to be in this warm space with pizza and coffee and pop and people that care how you're doing and people that'll notice if you're a little bit off. Like just being able to be here in community together is really, it really is a blessing. So I think that's the biggest celebration that doesn't get named that I might just start naming every time. So if this is your first time here, then this is a new space for us. So if you've been to Free before and you've seen where we're at before, you might notice a lot of things that are just a little bit different, right? The room feels a little more cozy, right? The signs are on the wall, and the volunteers know that they didn't have to come in 2 hours early to do the setup, as I said in the welcome. We've got different speakers and different things, and things are looking just a little bit different around here. It's new, but it's not necessarily the end game, right? Like, if anyone is familiar with Free in Denver, they know that Free in Denver has a big building with a coffee shop and 30 some meetings a week, and they host the sober open mic nights and they host the sober comedy nights. And although we might not be where we were, we're still not quite where we'd like to be yet, right? We're in this space that's kind of in between. And it's also where a lot of us are finding ourselves in recovery as well, right? And we call that liminal space, the liminal space in between where we've been and where we're going, where sometimes we're just hanging out, sometimes things are happening a little more rapidly, but sometimes that liminal space still carries a lot of different emotions. It can be frustrating, it can be exhausting, and it can be confusing, especially in that liminal space in sobriety, because some things happen quickly. You know, we're not spending all of our money on cocaine anymore, right? If I get pulled over, I'm not super worried about going to prison anymore. My mom doesn't sigh deeply every time I talk to her on the phone, right? All those things happen pretty quickly. You see? We don't get that. My favorite thing my mom says, she might be tuning in, love you, Mom. Seth, I'm just worried about you. Anyone got that? Now we don't get those things anymore, right? But other things seem to happen pretty slowly or not at all. Maybe that job or career change that we wanted. Maybe that housing situation, right? Maybe we just wish that employers and landlords could see, I've been sober for a minute. Like, don't judge that felony, that bankruptcy, that time I got fired from the Quality Inn off of I-44. Don't hold any of that stuff against me, right? But some things still happen slowly. And in recovery, almost every 12-step program I've visited or been a part of has a phrase for that, right? They say sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. And I think in reality, it comes down to be some things quickly and some things happen a little more slowly. And our friends over at NA have a phrase right after that. They say, easy does it. The beginning of their readings even say we learn to slow down and not expect too much too soon. But it doesn't always name that moment where a lot of stuff has happened and a lot of stuff is yet to happen, and we're sitting in the middle just feeling a little stuck, right? So the chaos has stopped, the crisis has ended, and we're functioning again, but we still have some deeper work to do in this liminal space when life's not happening as fast. Because I will tell you something, if every single person I know that's been sober for a few years can tell you, it speeds up really fast. So this liminal space actually gives us the opportunity to ask some deeper questions. We get to ask ourselves, who am I? What do I even want in life? What does a meaningful life even look like for me? And being able to ask ourselves those questions is actually a gift. But it's easy in that space to get restless and discouraged and beat down and frustrated. And Scripture, across almost every single faith tradition, has a story that talks about it. And tonight we're going to talk about a guy named Moses. I imagine most people know who Moses is. Moses is a pivotal figure in Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. And we call these three shared story faith traditions the Abrahamic faith, because they all trace their common shared story back to one ancestor who probably never lived, but his name is Abraham. And Moses kind of functions as the center of that shared story between those three prominent faiths in the world. If you add them all up, right, you get, by and large, the majority of the globe. In the book of Deuteronomy, Moses speaks to people that are in this exact same liminal space that a lot of us find ourselves in recovery. These are literally people who have been freed from generations of slavery in Egypt. They've survived the wilderness, and at points in this wilderness, people even wanted to return. And this liminal space kind of falls into this wilderness category. And those of us who've been in this restless, irritable, and discontented space have probably asked ourselves the question, do I even want to do this sober thing anymore if life is going to be this hard? These are people who are figuring out who they are, and in the process of figuring out who they are, it gets a little bit messy. They argue, they complain, they make mistakes, they fall back into old patterns, and then they catch themselves and have to correct, and then they learn, and then they keep moving on. This is a whole group of people that is very much like the group of people that I've come to know in recovery. God has provided them insane levels of miracles, but at the same time, those miracles become distant memory. Oh, that food that you give us when we're starving, we're kind of tired of it and want something else. Ravens and manna doesn't sound so delicious. These are people that are progressing, but they're pretty far away from perfection. And they're most certainly not to that land of milk and honey that they were promised when they were starting. And milk and honey in like ancient times was like, mwah. It was like me saying, I want to go to the land of caviar and penthouses, right? Milk and honey was what they were after, and it's what they were promised, and it's what they were searching for. But for some reason, they've still found themselves in the deserted desert eating weird bread mixture that came up off the ground. But they keep going. They keep going towards this promised land. They keep seeking this promise, and they keep moving forward knowing that there's something better on the horizon, as if they just don't turn back to slavery that they had waiting for them in Egypt. And for those of us in recovery, that's very real. Because when we're struggling with that deep addiction, we don't control when we give up that drink or drug. We don't control. It controls when it's done with us. And there's so many parallels to recovery in this story, because character defects don't always disappear just because we got sober. Anyone been screwed over by a friend in sobriety? Yep. I I have to tell myself and all my sponsees quite frequently, we're just a bunch of sick people. Life is still hard. And when they got to that land of milk and honey, life didn't become easy. You still got to farm it. And sometimes we just want to quit. And sometimes we just want to stop before that miracle happens. And Moses, in this moment where these people are grumbling and struggling and having a hard time, he doesn't give him a rule book. That's the book of Leviticus, and you won't find me talking about it that much. That's the book of Deuteronomy. And Moses makes them this promise. You have set before you life and death. Choose life. When we're struggling, when we're thinking that maybe that life of drinking and drugging that feels so beautiful and so far away feels better than the pain and the confusion that we're sitting in now, we're given a choice. It's between life and death, and Moses simply tells them to choose life. He doesn't say arrive at life or find life. He says choose. It's a choice that we make. It's a choice that we make in this liminal space where everything feels frustrating, to put one foot in front of the other, to let these setbacks and these hardships and these things that don't quite stack up to this perfect image we have in the future, we don't let them defeat us. We can learn and grow from them, even if it doesn't feel like we're learning and growing when we get that apartment rejection. I remember whenever I moved to St. Louis at a year sober, it was easier for me ultimately to buy a house than to rent an apartment. Because if you got a pass, they don't want you. But when you put that one foot in front of the other, you actually create the possibility for that future to happen instead of returning to the bounds of slavery. We choose, and we have to choose this again and again and again. But the beauty of that is we don't have to choose it alone. We get to choose that together in community with the people sitting around you to encourage you. We get to sit with people that we can call and lean on for a better future. Because healing doesn't happen in isolation. Healing is communal, especially a spiritual healing. And everyone knows, and if you don't know this yet, if I'm the first one to tell you, you need to find someone in the room after and talk about it. Recovery is a communal thing, and addiction is a thing of isolation, where we could be in a room full of people and still feel so alone. And the thing about scripture and sacred texts is that Moses isn't the only one that teaches us this. The New Testament actually has another guy. If you've ever heard of the Apostle Paul, he kind of gets a bad rap sometimes because some of his shit gets taken out of context. But it absolutely does. But anyways, Paul is the equivalent of a first century spiritual guide. Think of every single TikTok influencer that you watch, all of them put together. That's kind of who Paul was in this first century Palestine in the Roman Empire. And spiritual communities wrote to him about their problems. And he would write them letters back to kind of help them address what their problems were at the time. And about half of the Christian New Testament is these letters, or people that Paul was such a big deal, they wrote letters in the name of Paul. And Paul wasn't someone who had an easy life either. He wasn't someone that was always the spiritual guru. Paul was actually this guy that was persecuting the very people he later went on to help. He was killing them. The first time we see him, he's holding jackets for someone while they kill him. And later he makes this miraculous recovery, and that's a completely different message and a completely different Saturday night. But in these letters that were written to Paul, he addresses things such as conflict and burnout and confusion and identity and who we are and how do we maintain who we are in a world that's designed so different than who we are. How do we live differently in a world where we have changed, but the world around us hasn't quite changed yet? And taken out of context, some of these exchanges could really cause some harm, right? If person in row 2, who I'm not saying their name, calls me with a problem and I answer it to the exact same answer to the person next to him, that could cause some problems. And a lot of Christianity is wrapped up in those problems, but we're not here to critique that because we don't got enough time, y'all. But in the letter we're talking about today, it's the spiritual community that Paul was communicating with in Rome. And Rome was kind of the epicenter, right? Because the Roman Empire, any straight dudes in here that think about the Roman Empire every day? Yeah. A gay one right there. And the community in Rome actually was dealing with this conflict arising from different cultures of people coming into community together. They had old systems and old pressures, but new life. They had different spiritual backgrounds. They had conflict, just like a lot of us at this stage in sobriety, this liminal space. And let me tell you, once you get out of liminal space, you'll just find a new one. So no matter how much time you have in sobriety, this is somewhere where you're going to be. They had different spiritual backgrounds and different things, and they were fighting. People in Rome, the Roman spiritual community was fighting. And Paul says in his letter to the Romans, don't fall back into old patterns. Be transformed by renewing your minds. How easy is it for us to fall back into those old patterns? How easy is it for us to text that ex we used to use with, thinking that we're not going to use with them this time? How easy is it for us to pop off on that boss? Yeah, the last time we did it, we got fired, but that guy deserves to get a piece of my mind, right? How easy is it to just lay in bed and let the depression get the best of the day? I know that's a hard one for a lot of us. What he's basically saying here is don't go into autopilot because the crisis has passed. Don't fall back into those old habits because continual transformation is necessary to keep the transformation we have alive. And that transformation isn't a theory, it's practiced, it's embodied, it lives in our very souls. And just like his community, our very community, just like our own recovery, mirrors this need for continued transformation. This room here, it might be a lot prettier than our last one, and it might look a little bit more like ours, but it's not our end game. There's much bigger dreams that we have out there, but we're in a good place. And eventually that big building with its own 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. coffee shop and that sober open mic night and the Wounded Warrior spiritual retreat. I think I saw a flyer for that at Denver. They literally have a recovery resource fair that has 100 spots, and they had to turn 100 other vendors away because they're able to serve as the whole hub of the recovery community for a city. Eventually that might happen, and eventually it might not. Eventually it might not, but we'll still be present. We can still enjoy now. We can still enjoy the people we're with and the people that we surround ourselves because presence brings peace. And the Buddhist practice actually calls this mindfulness. It's the idea that peace doesn't come from fixing everything, but from being fully present in what we already have. They also talk about non-attachment. Buddhism teaches that changing the future or past, or trying to cling on to the future or past, creates suffering in the present. When we focus on who we were or what we lost, we're only shitting on today. When we focus on what we don't have left, we're ruining the peace that we can have today. And presence doesn't fix everything, but it sure releases the tension from what we're carrying right now. Being able to enjoy the moment that we have in gratitude. Me and Kelly were talking about it this week, and I hope we can bring some of that back. I was like, Kelly, you have all these dreams, but you still embody so much joy. And she goes, because right now is the only moment that matters. Sitting here at this restaurant talking to you is the only moment that matters. Because if we focus on all those things we've lost or all those things we haven't gained yet, right now is going to be pretty damn miserable. And honestly, whenever I was early in sobriety, so about a year, in my first year of sobriety, so picture it, 2018, Springfield, Missouri. I wanted my life rebuilt so badly. Golden Girls fans. I wanted my life rebuilt so badly. Before I went to prison, before the drug trafficking, before the nights in Dallas, Texas. We've all been there. I was a CPA at a big accounting firm making 6 figures with a master's degree by 23. And that first year of sobriety, I just sit in all the things that I had lost. But you know what else happened that first year in sobriety? Sand volleyball after the Wednesday night meeting at Drury University campus. Late night steak and shake, board game nights, bonfires. Me and my friend Jake used to do this thing. Let's hope the Springfield PD don't see this. It was called unibombing. It all started one night when my friend's grandpa had passed away. And Jake pulls up, because hippie Jake, you hear me talk about him all the time. Someday he's going to sit in one of these chairs. You're going to love him. Yeah. Justin's met him. He once got a spider colony removed from his ear because of his dreadlocks were covering it up or something. He pulls up in his like Dodge Caravan and he's like, get in the car. And I'm like, what are we doing? This isn't in my notes, but I'm like, what are, he goes, don't worry about it. I'm like, is it against the law? And he goes, yes. And we go and pick up our friend whose grandpa just died. And then we pull up to this neighborhood that I'm not going to name, but it had these statues of these bronze horses all over the place. And he pulls out little kid party hats that were shaped like unicorns. And we went around the nicest neighborhood in Springfield, Missouri, and put unicorns on all of the bronze horses. In the neighborhood, these are the kind of things we get to do when we're newly sober. But at the time, I don't think I had the ability to fully enjoy it the way I look back on it now. So when you're in this liminal space, this new space where everything isn't falling together yet, you're also in this space that you're going to look back on and say, these were the good old days. The people in Denver, they look back on when they were in a storefront, smaller than this, and they say, those were the good old days. Those were the days where I knew every person in the room. Those were days where when people walked in, we could always greet them, right? So maybe right now is the good old days. The Big Book actually has a story like that, right? In the Big Book, it says it's like passengers that were saved from a sinking ship, where everyone experienced the joy of this new release from life, all the way from the captain to the cheapest ticket in there. And that's sacred. That joy is sacred. So my invitation to all of us tonight is to be present in those liminal moments. Experience joy, and most of all, practice gratitude for the beautiful things that happen every single day. Not because it's the end. God loves, I think Donnie actually told me this. God loves you too much to leave you there. Did you tell me that, Donnie? And ask yourself, where am I in the in-between right now? Where am I at risk of getting restless, irritable, and discontent? Ask yourself, what's changed quickly, and be grateful for it. And ask yourself, what's taking a bit longer to change that I can just put in that hope category and not expect it to happen tomorrow? What would it look like to choose life together, to be together, right here and right now? Not forever, not perfectly, just together in honest community. Because transformation begins before everything comes together. Sometimes the old life needs to fall apart so that the new life can get rebuilt. And in a second, so there's some new people here. We do something that might feel a little weird, especially for those of you who aren't used to meditating. We're going to put on a song, and we're just going to, whatever stance you feel the most comfortable in meditating. And it might not be a song you're used to meditating to. It's Machine Gun Kelly. If you feel most comfortable with your eyes open and your hands open, or your eyes closed and your hands closed, whatever stance, just get comfortable. And this song actually comes from, any celebrity in Hollywood that's been sober long enough, probably, or that's been around long enough, probably has gotten sober. And this is Machine Gun Kelly's sobriety album, if you've heard it. Some of the albums aren't too good, Eminem. But this song, it's called Treading Water, and it's just about trying to hold it all together in those early sobriety stages. And he's actually someone, if you read his story at all, his life pretty much fell apart because of addiction. And he literally had Megyn Kelly. No, not Megyn Kelly. No one wants her. Megan, what's her name? Fox. Yeah, Megyn Kelly's that terrible conservative commentator. No one wants her. But anyways, he literally had Megan Fox, right? He was married to the woman who, as a child, he had her poster in his room. And then all that kind of fell apart. So I just invite you to approach this moment of meditation in whatever stance or position feels the most comfortable. So I'm super. So this period is probably why at least 10 of you are here tonight, right? This period we call it our guest storyteller. So it's kind of like a normal age you might see at a meeting, but it's a little bit more like a talk show style interview. And I'm so excited for this person. The first time I met her, I just barely met her, and then the next time I met her, she just radiates joy, right? Like I've heard she's the mom of her sober living house, right? Like she's kind of that glue. And whenever I got a chance to meet with her this week, I was just like, this is someone who gets sobriety, and someone who gets it really well and is able to experience that stuff that we were talking about, that in between space, that perfect job not coming together yet, that perfect living situation coming together, falling apart, starting to come back together in a way that just navigates it with gratitude. And so I want to invite Kelly up. Yeah. And this microphone doesn't make things louder. It just makes it to where they can hear us online. So you might need to project. Kelly. So Kelly, I know about half the room knows you, but for the other half that doesn't, tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your story.
Sure. I was raised in a middle class family. I have one brother, three sisters. I am the middle child. I was born premature and spent the first month and a half to 2 months of my life in the hospital. And I say this because I like to believe that's the reason why there was never a mother-daughter bonding. I grew up pretty much thinking my mom couldn't stand me. Walked around on eggshells all the time, trying to figure out what mood she's in and what am I going to have to do to make her happy. Not that, not that it didn't really matter though, because no matter what I did, nothing was ever good enough. So I grew up basically living through everybody else's wants and needs. I had really low self-esteem. I didn't really fit in with friends. I was put in school at an early age. I graduated high school at the age of 17. So I was a lot more immature than everyone I hung with. My opinion changed to whoever was in the room so I could fit in. Compared myself to tons of people. I wish I was pretty like her and smart like him. And really, I think what saved me was sports. I played sports from a very young age all the way through adulthood, but still living through everybody else's wants and needs. So Kelly had no dreams, it was just for everybody else. And that basically brought me to being in relationships that were always, domestic violence. And I would stick and stay because I thought I had no value and I thought that's what I deserved. And the strange thing is, I didn't become an alcoholic until the age of 47. I never had a problem with drugs or alcohol early in life. But if I look back, I probably had addictive tendencies. It just was never triggered yet. And so I really struggled with recognizing that I was an alcoholic or an addict. And anytime that, I'd reach out to a sister and say, "Hey, I think I'm an addict." And they'd be like, "No one becomes an alcoholic at the age of 47." And that's all I needed to hear. I was off to the races drinking again. Um, but at some point, I hit my rock bottom. And for me, that was just the spiritual emptiness, that void. Like, I couldn't stand myself sober and I hated myself even more drunk. And so I made the decision that I need to do something to stop it. And relapse is part of my story. I've been in 4 28-day programs, completed all of them with, intentions of staying clean and sober. It just wasn't my time. I had another life lesson I needed to learn. Um, but I have to say, like, when I got to LSSI, it changed my life. Like, people like Donald introduced me to words like boundary. Like, when I first heard that word, I was like, what does this have to do with recovery? Because my mind goes to state boundaries. So it's like one of those things where I'm this many years old when I learned what a boundary was. Like, but that changed my life. I read this book that was given to me by an IOP counselor that's called The Four Agreements. And it's agreements that you make with yourself. And those changed my life. It's be impeccable with your words. It talks about core beliefs, which that was a game changer for me because my core beliefs were horrible. I thought I was stupid. I thought I was worthless. And I realized that by reading that, I realized I have the opportunity to change my core beliefs. Because if I look at what I really thought about myself, there was no proof to any of that. And when I realized that, that's what gave me the opportunity to change what I thought about myself. Um, so it was things like that and learning to being able to love myself again, being able to sit with myself and actually enjoy being with myself, where before I couldn't stand, I didn't even want to look in the mirror. I just couldn't stand who I became. That's what gives me the inner peace and the joy because I can live in the moment. I don't think about the past. I let all that go and I don't live in the future. I truly have faith in God and these types of programs, these types of meetings that I'll get to where I need to be exactly when I need to get there. So yeah, I can go to sleep at night and not have racing thoughts. I put 100% into everything I do, regardless if I want to do it or not. So I don't have any regrets at night when I go to sleep. And that's what gives me the inner peace. I don't sit there with shoulda, woulda, couldas. It is what it is, and I'm okay with that. As long as I do the next right thing and don't pick up again, life is really good.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, and so a couple things I know that you're currently in sober living. You've done inpatient, but one thing that struck me about you, and you do 12 steps, right?
Yep.
Is that you don't just do 12 steps, right? Like
No, I don't.
tell everyone in the room a little bit more about like how you take autonomy over your sobriety. How do you take control? Like what areas do you kind of explore to grow? Because I think there's a lot that other people can take from that.
You know what? There's things I do every day, and one of them is always pray. And I always meditate with myself. I do inventory with myself at night, going over my day and figuring out, what happened, if something was bad, what part did I play in it, and how could I have handled that situation better. And I do 12 steps. I do AA and NA. I have a sponsor. I work the steps, but there was still a void. And so I had to start going around to different types of meetings to figure out what, because I didn't know what the void was about. But coming to free recovery changed that for me. There's a different connection in different rooms that you go to, and I need this connection. And it filled that void. I like the variety of people that are here, and it gives me more inner peace and happiness.
Yeah, free is definitely designed to not be your whole program, right?
Yeah.
But it's to be the part where we really explore what our spiritual life looks like together.
And it's the no shame, and there's no pressure because there's no 12 steps. There's no, I have to follow this or I have to, no.
Yeah.
I can just come here and be Kelly.
Yeah. If you don't have a sponsor, we don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
And I kind of mentioned this in the message portion, but I'll let you speak for yourself on this. I know that right now you kind of are in the liminal space, right?
I am, yes.
Where a lot has happened, a lot is yet to happen, and you're
Yeah.
hanging out, but you seem to do that with such joy and
I
such
do.
warmth and love. And so I just want to hear a little bit about like that liminal space that you might be in right now and like what you do to help keep yourself grounded in that moment.
Gratitude. That's a big thing for me every day is just gratitude. I'm grateful that I get to wake up in a warm bed, even if it is living with 16 other people. It is what it is. It's a big family right now, right? Helping others helps me too. That gives me joy to be able to do that. My job, although it's, not my career job, I still go to it because with happiness and joy that I can help another customer or make someone else's day better. And I just every day, that's all I pray for inner peace, happiness, that I have compassion, understanding, forgiveness is another big one. I don't carry resentments, because to me that's just a big downfall. And just to be kind. There's a lot of kindness missing in the world. And so I make it a point, like when I see customers, to look them in the eye and say hi. I have a lot of customers that I hug and they're always happy to see me. And it makes me feel good because it tells me I'm bringing joy to someone else's life.
I love that. I love that. And one last question, for anyone that maybe is in the room, or I know we have a few people online that are maybe just getting started in sobriety, or maybe in the middle of a rough patch of sobriety, what is the one thing that you wish someone would have told you that you had to, or maybe someone did tell you it, right? What's the best piece of advice, or what's the one thing that you would want people to kind of walk out of the room carrying from your story?
I would probably say that we are not the people that those addictive thoughts tell us we are. It took me a long time to learn that.
Yes.
Every once in a while it throws in a compliment, but it's a trick because it wants you to listen to the other
It's
shit.
ego fueled.
Yes.
It's ego. When my mirror tells me I'm a bad bitch, it's because it's telling me other people aren't, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Most
Yeah.
of the time it says you're a big cow. So.
Yeah, but that was the biggest thing to let go of those racing thoughts and just reframe my mind to learn that I do have value, that I do matter, just like everybody else in this room. We all matter. We all have value. Doesn't matter what we did.
And people care if you're around.
Yeah.
Right? People are rooting for you. And I'm just thinking of all those things that my brain tells me that the exact opposite is true.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Like you do have worth, you do contribute, people do like you, right?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
That's a good one, because our brains can be our own worst enemies. Well,
Yeah,
everyone.
we're our own worst critic.
Uh-huh.
Honestly.
And it's so funny because I'm like, what intrusive thought could Kelly have? She's fabulous. So, anyways, everyone give it up for Kelly. Thank you, Kelly. I love you so much. And we still have plenty of pizza, drinks. There's some salad and things like that too. So hang out for a little bit afterwards. We still have a few other things to do. But Kelly will be here. Ask her any questions. Talk to her about things. She most certainly won't bite. So now comes our time for generosity. So generosity, we have big dreams and big visions for where free is and where it's going. And your generosity helps us get from where we are to where we want to be, while still making sure we share gratitude and love for where we are right now. Also, when we're generous, it kind of helps with our spirit, right? A generous person is just generous in general. So if you don't give here, I challenge everyone to find a place to give. So you can scan the QR code right there, or there's a little cash box over here in the corner next to the Connect cards. And I'll leave that up for a minute, because now we come to the time of our gathering that we come to every week for heartbreaks. So just like we start with celebrations to remind us all the good and beautiful things, and we literally are sitting in a room full of miracles all day, every day, we start to close out with heartbreaks. And heartbreaks are just those things that are maybe just a little bit too heavy to carry out of the room. Those things that we think we have to carry by ourselves, but you have a room of people that love and support you. And anyone that shares a heartbreak, I thank you so much for your trust. There used to be, I used to go to this 12-step meeting in St. Louis where there was an old man that said, naming a problem means you're halfway to fixing it. And that's what I think about the heartbreak section. So I will hand this mic over to Matt to walk around. And Ryan, if you want to go ahead and start the timer for the heartbreaks.
Christian, I just want to publicly allow my nervous system to accept the fact that it turns out that methamphetamine use is an automatic disqualifier for the police work in the city of Chicago. So, yeah, it was massively heartbreaking to hear. There may be some avenues to work on which involve another purpose that may have nothing to do with actually becoming a cop, but might be able to make a difference in the long run. It's just still hard to accept, you know. Yeah, thanks.
I had a rough Christmas and New Year's living at sober living, and also trying to get on a new medication for my anxiety. It really was difficult for me to adjust to the new medication, and and now it's working. So I just had to get through that, and it just created a very challenging time for me. But I feel like, and I really was yeah, it wasn't a great Christmas. I want next Christmas to be a lot better. So that's like that got me through. And so I just I'm glad that I got through those challenges, and I'm just glad to be here tonight. Thanks.
I have a heartbreak, and some of it is stupid. So TikTok is going to change the people that kind of run it, and they're going to change the algorithm, so I can't be updated, I don't think, on what's happening in Palestine and open news, and it's going to be suppressed. And it's been making me anxious because, like, I just see the free press being eliminated, and I'm like, what the fuck? But it's yeah, I'm glad that I can share about it. And hopefully, free press doesn't die. So
Oh, I guess I have a mic already. I guess on that note, just like the people of Venezuela that are going through um, a war brought on them after all of South America has just been wrecked by colonialism for hundreds of years, and when they're finally kind of getting a glimpse of taking their autonomy back, and really, like you said, just free people being free throughout the world is really at risk right now, and it's not one person, it's not one country, even though there's leaders in it. It's really, really, really widespread, and it's kind of a scary moment to be.
Hi, I'm Joe, Great recovery meth addict. I have a mom that is, she keeps getting worse and worse, and I'm going to be going back to Boston in a couple of weeks for probably about a month, and I have to do this. It appears every 3 months. It used to be like twice a year, then it was 3 times a year, so now it's every 3 months, and I'm just glad I can. The work I do is online, but it's an emotional thing for me. But I uh, I don't have the answers, but I'm grateful that I can continue to show up and to try to be the son that I wasn't when I was actively using.
And we'll just send a heartbreak out for all those people that we know and love. Maybe we met in recovery, maybe we met in active addiction that aren't blessed with sobriety at this moment, that are still writing their story, even though we know that story often involves deep pain and deep heartache. And we can tell ourselves things like the gift of desperation, but we're also allowed to feel a little pain for our friends that aren't with us. We have a guy who's been part of Free since the beginning that just decided he didn't want to be sober right now, and that's his choice, but that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, right? So definitely thank you everyone who shared trust with the room to be able to carry those heartbreaks with you. If you maybe had something that you didn't want to share online and in the room, there's a couple people floating around with some free t-shirts on. Peter, find someone to share what's been bogging you down, because you shouldn't walk out the door with the entire weight being on your shoulders. So. Okay, well, we had a good evening tonight. I think there was some good energy, some good vibes, as the Gen Zs are saying these days. So definitely, we have more chairs in the closet. We can squeeze more people in. So don't worry about that. Invite your friends if you heard something you liked, if you met someone you connected with. If you feel like there's something here that can help you or someone you know grow in recovery, most certainly invite them back next week. I can't guarantee pizza, but I can almost certainly guarantee coffee, and I'll fill that thing next week. So every week I pour some out, but for some reason coffee was in tonight. So we're going to close by saying a prayer together. Every week it's a little bit different. Ryan, who does AV for us, always seems to find one that feels right. And so approach prayer in whatever position or stance you want. You might not get on your knees and turn around because that might make the person behind you uncomfortable, but some people choose to. I think whenever I was a kid, I was told to close my eyes and put my hands together, so now I always pray like this because that's what I do. Whatever prayer approaches, whoever you pray to, even if it's the prayer to the rational spirit of the universe, right? So the prayer's on the screen, if you will join me. God, I come before you with an open heart, ready to be shaped by your hands. Wash away the doubts, fears, and habits that hold me back. Plant within me the seeds of courage, wisdom, and compassion. Let my thoughts be guided by truth, my words by kindness, my actions by love. Renew my mind so that I may see possibilities where I once saw obstacles. Strengthen my spirit so I may rise after every fall. Transform me into the person you created me to be, a light in the darkness, a vessel of peace, and a reflection of your grace. Amen. Thank you all. Hope to see you back next week. There's pizza and stuff, so stay and hang out. There you go. Okay, I think so too.